Hey, Ron Hardman here with Kilroy's Workshop and Excalibur Outdoors. You might have heard that we're taking over the manufacturing of USAFA sabers. We've also done maintenance for Air Force Academy sabers for years and years, though. And so, for those of you who have 2024 and prior sabers, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how to properly care for these things, when to send them out for repair for somebody like us, things that you shouldn't do in advance of doing that, and then some of the things that we can't actually correct. There are limitations to what we can do on these things. We've seen some pretty gnarly things come through our door, so I wanted to touch base with you and help share maybe a little bit of information here that'll make these sabers last for generations. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some different parts of the saber. First things first, we have the scabbard. So this one here is one of the old sabers, not one of ours. And everything from that I'm talking about here applies to the old sabers, not to the new ones. We manufacture them differently. And I'll get in another video about that. So this here is the scabbard, or the sheath. There is the tip, and the throat, and the clip. And so these are some different parts on that. So when I say scabbard, this is what I'm referring to: tip, throat, and clip. We have the saber itself here. And then here we've got our blade. This entire section over here, the handle section, is called the hilt. This is the pommel. This is the handle. And this is the guard. So now when I'm talking about those things, we're on the same page when I'm referring to different pieces of that. So let's talk about some of the things that we see in here all of the time. These sabers here, I'll start with the scabbard. This tube is manufactured out of mild steel. So mild steel is the same thing that you might see on your car, right? So it's like car door sheet metal. So this was tube steel, it's tapered tube. And then what they do is they chrome plate these. And so you'll see this here, there's a shiny spot. I don't know if you can even see this on camera, but it's shiny here, and it's faded down in here, through here. Some of that we can actually restore, but most of the time when we see something that's highly, highly blemished on here, we're not able to restore it. And one of the things, because this is mild steel, that happens is if moisture gets inside the scabbard, so if it's put away wet or if it's in a moist climate, it's like a bumper in Wisconsin. I'm from Wisconsin. It can be chrome plated, and what will happen is it'll actually rust from the inside out. When you start seeing those bumps on there, I can't really do anything with that from a maintenance standpoint. That's just not something that can be repaired. The whole thing would have to be stripped down, replated, and most states in the United States don't actually allow for chrome plating any longer. And so that's just something to keep in mind. The throat, this section here, the clip, and the tip are all brass in most of the cases. We've worked on a bunch of them from different countries, like I said, but in most cases these are brass. And then what they do is they silver plate them. It's a very thin silver coating. So what you don't want to do is take it over to a buffing wheel, and we've seen this happen before, and it's buffed, and then that silver plating gets removed off of there really fast, and you're down to seeing a gold color underneath there. We can't just replate that. It doesn't work that way. And so the whole thing would have to be stripped down, replated, and that tends to be pretty expensive to do something like that. Now, one of the other things that we see on here all the time is, and you can see it on this, it's happened here, and it happens on most of these sabers after a time. They are silver plated, and so they tarnish. So depending on the manufacturer, the overseas manufacturer, they would clear coat this or put some kind of a coating over the surface, but that tends to wear as well. Also, you'll see maybe some gunk around there that was done during the manufacturing process. That clear coats over the top. Can't really do anything with that either. So keep in mind as you're working with these things, that will tend to fade over time, that exterior coating, and it will tarnish. But we can take, let me see here. I've got these towels. I just picked up these microfiber towels at like an O'Reilly Auto Parts or AutoZone or something like that. Walmart sells them. So microfiber cloth, it's not very abrasive. You can go all the way from this to using 4/0 steel wool. So 4 zeros on the steel wool. You can get that at Lowe's or wherever. But be very, very gentle with that. Again, you don't want to rub too much. You don't want to rub that silver plating off of there. We just want to try to polish that up a little bit. And then this is just one of many different polishes that you can use. Again, I just got this one at AutoZone. There are some different ones at O'Reilly Auto Parts. You can use those and try to polish that up. There are limitations. If you see it's worn off, if it's scratched, if it's dented, there's just only so much that can be done on that front as well. But if you do wear it too thin, and that comes off and you're starting to see gold, that's something I can't, again, very effectively fix. And so if you're more comfortable sending that into us, just contact the Association of Graduates and we'd be happy to take care of that for you. Now, turning my attention over to the sword, I'm going to talk about how these are manufactured a little bit. You'll see on your old saber, in 99% of the cases, actually I don't know that I've ever seen one that's not this way. I've got some pieces here to show you as well. So this is the pommel piece, and this one is actually a cast piece on there, and it's the globe. On some of those old ones, you can't really quite tell what it is, so you got to examine it pretty closely, but that is actually the globe. But it doesn't actually thread on the end in most cases, and what you'll see is actually a set screw. It's this little tiny screw that's right in here, and it's the same thing that happens on the guard, and that attaches everything to the handle, and even the throat and tip are attached with these set screws. Oftentimes those set screws go missing, and so Ace Hardware is a good place to go and find replacements for little things like that, little screws. Sometimes they're also stripped out, so you have a hard time getting it out of there. That's a case where if you're comfortable working with tools, you can get a very, very tiny drill bit and try to drill that thing out of there. Most of the time what you can do though is actually stick a wad of something, like a little tiny piece of leather in there, or even a piece of paper, to try to get a little bit of grip with a screwdriver, and just ever so gently try to turn that thing and see if you can get that out of there. So we've got lots of different tricks that we do here in the shop to try to recover from that. But if you're going to do that maintenance at home, just don't strip that thing too much. Those are brass screws that are going inside of there most of the time, again, depending on the manufacturer. But they do go missing, and then it's hard to get them apart. So here's an example of another set screw that's in there holding that on there. And you see it's just hollowed down through that section. Okay? Now, again, when we're talking about cleaning these things up, don't take these over to a buffing wheel either. You can see some black edges around here. This is actually not part of the design, because it varies on from piece to piece in there. So some of them, I think they do put some highlighting in it, but some of that's also just baked in from the cleanup process, or it's just been wear over time and some tarnishing. This is silver plated. Oftentimes these are these are stamped steel. This one here is more of a cast piece, but there's still a hollowness to that. You can hear right there. And then the handle is a hollow stamped steel, and you can see the seam that runs right down the edge right here. These things here do have a tendency to wear. Again, these are plated, and so you can see this tarnishing right there. That's very, very common. In that case, this clear coat has worn off. The silver's been exposed. Go ahead and take that cloth and clean that up on there, and you can put some decent pressure with this kind of cloth. Again, don't wear it too much with that 4/0 steel wool if you end up going that direction. Now, turning my attention to this blade. These blades, the ones that we've seen have been stainless steel, although the grade of stainless steel I'm not sure of in a lot of these cases. It wasn't published along with it. We're using a steel called AEBL stainless steel in shop here. It's the same steel I use for our chef's knives. It's about the best steel you can use for the Saber piece here. And again, I'll cover a lot of that in the other video. This one here, I'm not quite sure, but it is stainless steel. It's got some decent flex to it. The tips do have a tendency to break on these things, I've found. Talking to some folks that are part of the Saber drill team, they break all the time for them. And so just to keep that in mind, that if that tip breaks off, the only thing we can really do with that is grind a new point on it, but it'll be a shorter saber. So the higher up it goes, the closer you get to making a dagger. All right, well, I hope that helps you out some. Feel free to reach out. Give us any feedback you want on this video. If you want to see something else, or if you're running into something unique, let us know. We actually take care of sabers. We've done for everything from West Point to the Naval Academy to the U.S. Coast Guard Academy. We do maintenance on all of those. And so feel free to reach out with any questions on any other sabers you've got as well. We manufacture, again, here sabers, but we make all kinds of other things with Kilroy's workshop. We teach over 4,000 students a year how to do this kind of thing. And then we hire from our student body to actually work in the shop once they get good enough in there. And so our community is very much a community here. The folks who are working on your sabers are from Colorado Springs, and we take pride in our work. So love talking to you. Reach out with any questions. Thanks.